Now to our hot topic. Our opt-out discussion. Mr. Fogg, I'll let you lead off.
Well, I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
Opt-out. How can we raise more funding to sustain our highway building and maintenance program without having an opt-out of some dollar amount passed for 5 years down the road, starting next year for the following 5 years? We know that revenue is tight, and I'm going to suggest more likely than not, revenue is going to get a lot tighter over the next couple of years than what we are currently facing. Yet we still have our obligations and duties to the county residents countywide, as well as people who pass through our counties. Sooner rather than later, I'm going to suggest it would be good to have a thorough conversation of the dollar amount we are going to put in to an opt-out. We have two choices. When that is decided, we can perhaps be prudent and put it on the ballot ourselves, or we can allow the public to put it on the ballot themselves. The cost is going to be the same. You're going to run an election that is going to be limited to those individuals on the secondary roads, provided that that is how finite this opt-out is going to be drafted. I'd be welcome to hear more conversations. I would really like to see some way that we can make an inventory to the public available so that the people impacted are going to see that there is potential benefit coming to them on an approval of this opt-out. Because it is going to be limited to our secondary roads, those would be the voters impacted and the voters available to make their choice whether they want to make more funding available, which, yes, it will directly benefit those individuals on secondary roads, but it is also a county-wide benefit. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
And so those that would be, and it's only a, out in the county, right? So Susan was explaining that the city is.
It's not within the city, it's only the voters outside of the city limits.
Or the landowners.
Landowners in the county.
Yes.
Well, it's every voter outside the city limits.
Well, you can have a landowner, like Dave lives in town, but you got land on the outside. So it's landowners on the outside.
I don't think so.
Where you registered to vote.
Oh, sorry, my correction.
But I'd like to just have a list of roads to where if we're gonna do a $300,000 opt-out, where say we're gonna try to do 2 miles over by Tut Hill, a mile or two on Miller Hills, go out by Allen, and then and just keep whittling those roads every year. Don't just pick one road and put it all on one road on one end of the county, but hit all the, try to hit 4 corners of the county as best we can with that money.
And so on an opt-out like this, I'm just not real familiar with an opt-out, how it works. So that the dollars would then go into the general fund and then they would go right
to
to
the secondary road fund.
Directly to a secondary road fund.
In some ways, Jay, it's going to be a reserved fund, specific to what the call of the opt-out is. Beyond that, you'd have to go back to general taxation.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Thank you.
Public can say something too.
I just have a comment from Joe Jaco that said, he had to leave and asked me to tell the commissioners that he will be filing a petition to make it to a public vote. That's what he said out here for a while. Yeah, everybody knows that, but he wanted it known at the meeting for the opt-out part.
Well, you can't do nothing yet because we're not voting on today.
Absolutely. Yeah.
From my standpoint, instead of you guys voting on it, I'd just as soon go straight to a ballot if you are thinking about it. You'll save me a lot of work by doing that, but I'm willing to go get the signatures if needed, but I'd just as soon you guys, if you do go forward with the opt-out, just put it straight to a public vote
instead of yourselves, but. I don't disagree. I think that it gives the citizens of the county transparency in what you guys are doing and a chance for you guys to explain why you're wanting to do it. I don't think it going to a vote right out of the gate is a bad thing. I think it opens the door for you guys to have a little more freedom than, say, the last go around.
And we're gonna have a public hearing on this too. We're gonna set a date for that and explain what we wanna do and,
How the last opt-out went, it was just basically the board that made the vote,
no,
went to a public vote.
but that was
Okay.
countywide though.
That was countywide, okay.
A petition was filed and it went to a public vote and
Because
passed,
of the petition.
passed by one vote, yes.
So you guys have two options. If you do want to go do the opt-out, you can obviously just do the resolution where then the public will have to get the petition signed and have a certain number of signatures. Or in the resolution, you can just send it directly to a vote. So you have those two different options.
What are your guys' thoughts on that, I guess?
All we know is gonna go to a vote, so we might just put it to a vote.
Put it to a vote, that's kind of what I was thinking too myself.
I wanna have a public hearing to explain what we wanna do with the money,
What rules?
about roads. Public is welcome to come in and put their suggestions in or tell us what roads that we've missed that needs to be put on there.
And the impacted voter, they can make in their mind up, do they want their roads improved, or they do not want their roads improved?
And I'd like to see if Jeff can kind of give us an amount per acre it will cost.
Oh, yeah.
landowners.
Jeff, are you in here?
I am.
Do you have that paper? I don't know if I,
The one I gave you the other day?
talked about so many things.
While you're looking for that, can I make a statement? So, I know that if you do the opt-out, you're gonna do, most of that's probably gonna be contract work, doing that money. So, while you guys were in executive session, I looked through the last Whipple bill that was turned in. And we've talked a little bit about billing, such forth. So, you guys need to have a highway superintendent before you start asking for money. Like, you guys are gonna have to make a decision on highway superintendent. You're gonna have to have an actual road plan. Like, I think there's a lot of work to do before you go into the opt-out phase. I just, like I said, I reviewed this Whipple bill that just got turned in the other day. And you're looking for a highway secretary. There's no way for a highway secretary to decipher that bill. You have certain roads on that bill that are designated combination. You have this road up here combined with this road up here because two operators did the blading. There's one combined hourly rate for the day, and there's no way to decipher how much time was spent on which road. And when I talked to her out here in the hallway, she said that's because it's not required in their contract to designate which roads were done and how much time was spent on each road. So if you're gonna do an opt-out, I think you have a long ways of organizing what's going on with the spending of the money before starting to ask for more, or you're gonna run into a lot of opposition from the public.
And I think that's part of our position to put this to the public vote and then to present, the commissioners to present their case, right, and the plan. Like Dave was talking about having your four corners of the county, right, and putting that plan together. And I think that's something he would come up with to present to the public. So hopefully we would have that plan. And then we're still working on the highway superintendent situation. It's not been easy. We're working on it. Right, and so hopefully that will transpire fairly soon. Is there anything I'm missing, I guess, to that? But
There isn't a deadline on the opt-out. There is a designated date that says past this date, you can't do it. So, and I think that's what, June 15th?
July.
July 15th.
July 15th, and then how? When does the vote take place then?
You,
So I mean, how long do we have to present our case to the public? when they actually,
It's gotta take place before an annual budget is passed October first, so it'd have to be sometime in the summertime so that we know whether we're gonna have 300,000 to work with or not.
Sarah?
so what would you say, Susan, would be that deadline as far as when the vote should take place so that we know?
Well, as long as you're gonna, I would think probably August.
The June or August,
No, you have to,
has to be passed by July 15th.
the opt-out has to be passed prior to July. An opt-out should not be done until after January 1st, but must be done on or before July 15th of the year prior to the year the taxes are payable. The decision to opt out may be rescinded if done prior to July 15th. If an opt-out decision has been referred to a vote and has been defeated, the governing board may opt out again if done so prior to July 15th of the year prior to the year the taxes are payable. Decision to opt out must be published within 10 days of the decision. Elections must be held on or before October 1st and requires a simple majority to pass.
So there's no set date on election.
What was that?
There's no
No.
set date on election.
But
Within
you
No,
so
it
many
has to be
days.
done before October
need
1st.
to
Right,
know
right.
what you were working for in your budget.
So I guess we would kind of have to set those dates, and I think that we could try to present the case as best as possible to the public before they go to the ballot box, you know, and present that plan.
Is the county in jeopardy?
Jeffrey, what?
Have you not balanced a budget the last 3 years without the opt-out?
We balanced the budget last year with that amount.
That's my point, and the year before that.
We're just
Mike?
trying, we're just trying to get more funding. As,
To do secondary roads.
as you know, as everybody knows in this room, inputs are going through the roof. We cannot keep operating on 1970 inputs. We're at a tax freeze. Machinery back when the tax freeze happened probably cost under $100,000, now we're over $500,000. Fuel is not cheap, labor's not cheap.
Well, I don't think we keep doing opt-outs either, though. I mean,
We got
we're gonna have to just keep doing opt-outs, is what you're saying every
We
year?
have to, unless we get a different funding source, because
If you want roads, maintain roads with gravel on.
the school does opt out every year.
It takes money, it takes time. Do you want to have a healthy county? Or do you want people having to duck behind a fence row to go between 2 points? Because the road in the middle is too soft. If we don't keep up with these things, we're not gonna even have a base to begin with.
Exactly. And today, I'm gonna back up to 1970. 1970, this county used to operate on one crop, summer fallow, and tandem trucks hauling the crop out. And livestock was on horse trailers or small tandem trucks. Today, you are facing trucks with over, trucks and pumps over 100,000 pounds, machinery that's heavy and big. And there was a comment made a couple years ago that, well, the machinery needs to go down the section line. No, it doesn't. This machinery goes down the main road. They pay taxes on it, that's where it's going. The machinery's getting bigger, semis are getting bigger. Now people are pulling two crops.
35-foot horse trailers. with
35-foot horse trailers,
narrow
yeah.
Tires on them, that just choose it.
I mean,
So why aren't you taxing those? Why aren't you raising the wheel tax? Instead of charging everybody, why don't you raise the wheel tax instead of putting an opt-out on everybody?
Is the wheel tax at a maximum?
It's only one tire, but I'm not for sure, but.
I don't think it's at a maximum, because I know a few years ago we discussed raising the wheel tax, but the commissioners decided they didn't want to do that. I'm not sure what it's at though.
If you do $300,000 opt-out, what's it gonna raise my taxes? That's all based on an acre basis, right?
Jeff, you wanna explain that? You got the.
So I worked with Mary to make sure I was doing my formula right to find a mill levy just for the $350,000. That's the number we're still looking at. So based on that, the mill levy plays out to be $1.05 just for the opt-out for every $1,000 of value. So the average acre in Bennet County will go up 56 cents an acre. The assessment. No, not the assessment. That would be the actual tax it would increase. I'm sorry. Anyway, the average non-crop acre just for the opt-out is gonna have 22 cents on it per acre, 22 cents an acre on non-crop pasture land. And cropland, the average is going to be $1.35 per acre, just to get that $350,000. Does that make sense?
Kind of, sort of. What is that like per section of ground? How much is that?
Per half section, like for me, for what it's valued at in the county, per the last one we just got, like my home half section there, that's gonna raise the taxes on that between $500 and $800 a year, just on that half section. So depending on how big of a landowner you are, that could be pretty substantial.
So, how many miles of road do you got to travel to get to oil, let's just say?
4 and 4.5 in any direction, doesn't really matter which way I go.
So you're gonna pay $800 to help, yours is probably a secondary road, isn't it?
Oh yeah, if it's even considered that, to be honest.
I'm pretty sure it is. Anyway, you're gonna pay $800 to help that secondary road get built. In my opinion, this is only my opinion, that seems pretty cheap.
Depends on if the work gets done. That's not a pun on anybody. I'm just saying in general. You
Well,
got a
but
lot
you
of
gotta
secondary roads in this
So you
town.
gotta take into consideration too, this opt-out isn't gonna fix every secondary road in the
No.
first year.
It's not.
I mean,
Absolutely.
it's a 5-year, I think we have on there for 5 years.
Yep.
With a 5-year perspective. I thought of another person, I'm not gonna mention names, it's gonna cost them $1,500, and they're gonna travel 10 miles of road, and they're gonna take big machinery down it, and their semis, and in my perspective, and I got more oil than dirt road. That's pretty cheap to help maintain that machinery better.
And I think it's all going to depend on everybody's own aspect on how
Right,
they want to look
right.
at it. You know.
Or are you taking into consideration that, you say prices are going up since '70s? All the people that are paying taxes are paying more for everything else too. I mean, I just did my balance sheet at the bank, and cattle may be worth more now, but the bottom line on the bottom of the balance sheet didn't go up any. It actually went down, even though the price of cattle is up. At the bottom of the balance sheet, because of the input costs, the bottom number went down. Now farmers, on the other hand, they're seeing less profit than anybody in this area. Do you really think that more tax burden on them right now is what they want to see?
Okay, now flip the shoes. Now sit in the county seat. As a county, we've got the same problem.
But we have to live within our means. If we can't balance the budget on our ranch or our farm, we don't just get to go ask for more money. Eventually that's got to come to an end.
Okay, well,
And if we're not in jeopardy right now, if the county is not in jeopardy, then why burn this bridge and go ask for more money now?
if we pull out the general fund, you're gonna complain about that too.
Not if it's budgeted for, because quite honestly, I think that that's what actually needs to be done.
Okay, well, if you budgeted for it, as we were talking earlier, general fund's gonna run out.
Not necessarily.
How, hang on just a second, Jay, how? How is it not necessarily?
Number one, the general fund has a lot of money in it.
Correct.
A lot.
Correct.
Because you guys have borrowed out of it the last 2 years. Not borrowed, but there's been enough there to supplement the budget for 2 years in a row. There's still a lot of money in that general fund. So a lot of times there's excess money that rolls over at the end of every year, a surplus. Because the budgets, there's more budgeted than actually money being spent in the general fund. So there is money there, and if you would do a rollover and take, say, take the surplus of what didn't get spent last year and budget for that in the highway fund the next year, and take a 1 year revolving part of that, you would have money. You're not overspending your general fund, but whatever surplus you have in the general fund, say last year, if you had a surplus in that general fund, you would set on that for a year and then put that into your budget in June or July. Say you had $300,000 of surplus, sit on that money and say, okay, we have this much reserve money left over. Let's put that into our highway fund for next year out of the general. And then you're not robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're actually utilizing the taxpayer money that you're already taking in and designating that, covering your 40% rule with Al, where you're not having surplus money over your 40%, and you just designate that money to go to the highway fund. And after a year, you're going to know how much is sitting there to be utilized in that highway fund. That's a hard process to explain.
Where's the surplus money at?
Well, we won't know because we haven't seen the annual budget,
No, I'm talking years past.
The years past, we've always designated that money, or what we used to do was we put that in the jail fund, we called it.
I know.
So that's
I'm
where
saying
that
is,
money was.
There has not been a surplus at the end of the year. Very little.
The last 2 years.
2-3 years.
Right, because that's where the experiment hasn't worked and you need somebody better managing how the money is spent and following, and that's where hopefully a really good highway superintendent's going to come in. But the reason you haven't had a surplus is because you've had to keep transferring that into the highway fund. The money's already going there. The county's not in jeopardy. 1 year it was $455,000, the next year it was $475 or something like that. So the money's already going from the general into the highway department. Why not just budget for that?
Well, one of the things
Because you're not shorting anything else.
I kind of look at it just a little bit. So like the opt-out is kind of a way of buying, you're kind of buying an asset for the community as well, for the county, because you're updating the secondary roads, right? To some extent.
Correct.
And so I kind of look at it in that light a little bit. And then by sending it to the vote of the people, they can decide if they want that asset or they don't want that asset at this time, right? I mean, it's kind of the way I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the right way or not, but I think we're kind of putting the idea out there and sending it to them to make the decision.
I fully agree with that.
An election costs money too. It's not cheap to put an election on.
What is the cost of an election?
Something like this isn't gonna be that expensive because I am assuming you're gonna just do paper ballots. And you can probably combine precincts. And you're not gonna have the city.
Right.
City people can't vote. You're only gonna have, there's only 2-3 precincts out.
So if we had a dollar
outside
amount,
the
what
county.
would it?
Oh, I have no idea.
Like 10,000.
No.
Oh, no,
No,
we didn't even
it's
have
like-
that much budgeted last year.
No, but
Couple thousand.
a regular,
Couple thousand roughly?
a regular election, you've got machines, you've gotta have way too many ballots, you've
But
got.
like this, not
yeah,
so much. Okay.
No.
I should know this,
It'd
but
be a low turnout too.
I'm gonna ask you. So it's an opt-out to $350,000 for 5 years.
Yes. Well, 350,000.
Over 5 years.
No, every year.
Per year.
Per year.
350,000
Per
every year
For 5 years.
to do so, and then by the end of that 5 years, the plan is to have every secondary road.
No, I wouldn't say that, it's just
Most of them.
given, you can only go, what do we figure, depending on how close you are to a gravel pit, $30,000 will do a mile, you have to pull it completely up and then,
So 10 miles a year. Just 10, 12 miles a year.
So you do 10 miles a year roughly with that.
I would say.
How many miles of secondary roads are in Benton County?
How many miles? Yeah, that's a good question.
That's what I was gonna say, 'cause I know
400?
there's roughly 700 total. So I would say that
So
half
we
would
could
be
do,
secondary roads or
we're gonna do
more.
150 miles.
But see, that would big that.
For 1.8 million.
But some of these secondary roads, they haven't had a stone put on them in 30 years.
Well, and the only thing I like about putting to the vote of the people is that we can talk about stuff like this and really try to present our case. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Personally, I'd rather see the money spent on primary roads like Heisel Road that actually needs the work done on it.
Well, we can use the, budget for that,
Budget for that.
yeah.
Bob,
Go ahead, Jeff, no, please.
There's a couple more numbers if I can send them to you.
all right,
320 acres. If it's average pasture land, the increased taxes on that 320 is gonna be $70.40.
a year?
For the whole 320?
Yes. That's just the opt-out levy. Still gonna be the regular county tax.
Right.
So, but that's what the opt-out's gonna cost the landowner on that 320.
Right.
And that's pasture, correct?
That's pasture.
Yep.
If it's crop, average crop for Bennett County, 320 acres, the tax is gonna, for the opt-out, is gonna be $432 a year.
Total for the year.
320 acres of average.
And it'll only be that for the 5 years, right? It's not gonna go up that much every year for 5 years.
No, because it's capped,
What was that last one for farm grounds, did you say?
432,
432?
that's
Yes.
it.
So 70 for pasture and 432 for crop.
Correct.
Per year.
Yep.
On a half section.
And that's the taxes due.
Back with your argument, Judd. Back when I first started, before I even started, you guys had a surplus, you rolled it. You know, put it in the general fund or whatever you did, or put it in the jail fund. Okay, well, the last 2, 3 years, 4 years, there has not been a surplus. We've used it. Working on the roads or something. What I'm getting at is, okay, if we're gonna do a budget for the highway department, we're gonna take it to 1.5. But we only got enough road money coming in at 800,000. You're gonna have to find $700,000. Okay, well, we're gonna have to pull that from the general fund. The way we've been fixing roads and doing things, that's gonna be spent. There's nothing to be surplusing back into the general fund. Every year, the road department is keep dwindling down to make sure other budgets are covered. I know some people ain't following me on this. It's kind of.
Right.
I was just thinking of
But
a
it's
question.
taxpayer money. We're not supposed to have a surplus. If you have a budget, you're only supposed to take that amount of taxes for the use of the government.
Correct.
But this is taking over and above. This is taking a surplus. And the last opt-out that we did, it created a county surplus, a huge county surplus. Then that money should have been rolling back into the services of this county. And it didn't happen to where we had this huge surplus.
Let me ask this question. Why not, Judge? Because you were commissioner then.
Why not what?
Why wasn't that done when you were commissioner?
When I came in, the surplus was already there.
When you left, the surplus was there. Not all of it, but most of it.
There was a surplus. Roads were getting built at that time. Roads were getting done. And there was still a surplus. There was the whole Tut Hill Road basically got done. I mean, that was a massive undertaking, and there was still a surplus there.
Got a question. So at the end of the year, after, say, we come out perfectly on our budget.
Hypothetical.
Okay, we come out perfect on it. How much is gonna be left in the general fund?
For
There's no way to know that till you do a
probably, what am I
budget.
at right now? 4.3, 4.4,
There's
what
really-
is that?
So close to what we are at now, probably.
The actual budget is budgeted higher than what's actually spent. But you have to have your budget higher to get the tax money so you know that everything's covered, to equal
Sure,
out with
that
your
makes
mill
sense,
levy.
yep.
So another fact for you, and Bob, you guys are both new here, Bennett County has the highest mill levy of any other state in South Dakota. So per acre, we're getting more mill levy than any other county. Our mill levy's higher. So per $1,000, we're taking in more money than any other county already before the opt-out. So we're already at the top of the list. Do we want to take more tax money? We kind of have to live within our means as well.
Does that mill levy include the school? Are you talking just county mill levy, or are you talking county, city, and school?
I think there's only one mill levy, isn't there, Jeff? I think it's,
No, the
With
county has a
everything.
mill levy, and the school has a mill levy, and
and the school already has an opt-out as well that we're living under, so.
They may be putting all the mill levies together to come
Right.
up with something. I don't know that, but
So, let me ask this question. If the school, why does the school opt out every year?
You want me to explain it to you?
Sure.
Okay. So the school has two separate funds. They have a capital outlay fund and a general fund. It's basically comparable to the highway, or to the county having a highway department fund and a general fund. Okay? So your capital outlay fund for the school can only be used on certain things. Building improvement, parking lots, it's like the highway department fund for the county. It's very limited on what that money can be used for. So per state law, the school can raise the capital outlay fund up to $750,000, I believe, legally without asking anybody. With the vote of their board, they can raise that up to $750,000. So the school can legally do that without anybody being able to say anything, but the school doesn't want more money in their capital outlay fund. They want more money in their general fund. Per state law, they are limited with how much money they can ask for the people for their general fund. So they need more tax revenue, but they want to use it. It'd be like you guys saying, I want it in the general fund instead of the highway department, which the state allows them to raise, say, your highway department as high as they want to, or up to 750, but they want it in the general. So then they have to do an opt-out to put that money into their general fund. Does that make sense? They could legally do it in the capital outlay fund up to 750,000, but they want it in this fund. And by doing that, they have to run an opt-out to do it. So they tell the people in their public meeting that they had last year that we have the option of raising the capital outlay fund, but we're not going to do that if you allow us to run an opt-out over here. So we're going to raise your taxes, whether you like it or not, but we would prefer to use that money in this account, but we need your approval to do that. So, it's complicated and very few people understand it. I get it, but it's very similar to the highway fund and the general fund for the county. It's just,
Without an opt-out though, we don't have the funds to do secondary roads. I mean, we're gonna
We can
fight.
blade them.
We can blade
once
them.
a year.
We can blade them and we can put some gravel in some places.
Very little.
Very low.
I guess as a taxpayer, it'd be, for me, if you're gonna go to a public meeting with it, you better have a damn good list of roads. Cause I think that's what people are really gonna look at,
Yeah, I think you're right.
is what.
I mean, we got a map of it, but we're probably gonna miss it.
Cause you're doing,
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
you're doing 150 miles of 400. So there's gonna be quite a few paying for it and getting nothing out of it.
my personal opinion is the people would rather see the main roads.
Gotta be.
If you're gonna ask for $350,000 instead of the secondary roads, hit the main roads with it and get those all fixed up before we even think about the secondary
I mean,
roads.
not be in front of their house.
Right,
They're gonna
Like Heisel, let's get that one fixed. Let's take the $1.8 million and put into Heisel and pull it up and do it right, and a couple of these other primary roads that the majority of the county's driving on.
So you're saying go countywide.
Yeah, I do the primary roads before. I mean, the secondary roads get bladed anyways, but let's get the primary roads done.
Okay, I don't disagree with Judd, cause like for us, like going out west to haul hay, you know, like you watch the weather, like you haul your hay when you need to haul your hay, and you watch that because you know damn well if it rains, you're not going down the roads, you're not gonna go cut, you're not gonna go haul it, you're not gonna do anything. Whereas Heisel, per se, or Todd Hill Road, I mean, they are main thoroughfares through this county, and like Heisel's an absolute joke right now, if you want my opinion, go drive it. I don't disagree that maybe some money put on these bigger roads, bigger mail routes, bigger bus routes and stuff like that. Probably wouldn't be a bad deal on a 5-year plan and then see what a guy can do with secondary roads. Just a thought.
What do you guys think about that? Try and focus on some, are we just gonna
Oh,
go all
this is
secondary?
open, like I said, it's just a discussion.
Are we thinking that we could maybe try 5 more years on the primary roads and do an opt-out? And
Well,
you're not doing no opt-out, but
if we do 10, 11, 12 miles a year on the primaries, and yet we can do another,
Same on that.
you could do more because you have more money.
Right.
On the primary roads.
yeah, I see what you're saying now.
And we've got, the roads are pretty much shaped up. It ain't gonna take much, just, it's gonna get to the point where it just needs to all gravel. That's the expensive part.
You've got 90,000 tons of gravel right now, already bought and paid for.
Yep.
Yeah. It's gonna cost you $1,000 a load to get that hauled into this county. Isn't it?
No, not that much.
I'm just saying,
That seems very high.
68 miles.
Let's see, all of these pups.
I think you can gross those at 40 ton.
are they using pups though?
When they did the central loop, they were using pups to cut the cost. 42 tons sticks in my mind.
Okay.
25.
Ooh, yeah, maybe.
And
I think it's 40 ton. I can't.
Because typically you're gonna be running around
Is
28,
Katie
you
still
know?
there?
So,
Hey, Katie.
38, yeah, probably 40.
With the pups, how many ton can they haul with the pups?
The pups?
Yeah.
I don't have that with me.
That's all right. I think it's 40.
Well, the weight limit's limited to 23 tons, isn't it?
Well, our loads are based on 25 tons.
Honestly, it's 42 with the pup and the trailer.
That's what I thought.
I think the trailer's 30 ton,
And then 12 ton on the pup.
and then I think it's 12 on the pup. It might be 15.
Okay. 42 is a good number to start with.
I feel like it's a little less than half.
Just on average, just say $400 to $500 a ton, or a load, excuse me. On average,
Say 500.
just say 500, plus or minus that.
What's that come out to? How much did it, roughly?
A 90,000 ton?
My point is that's where the money's went the last couple years, is instead of doing things a little bit at a time and say 10 miles in one time, we've went these massive, huge projects. That's what put us over. You know, when you go to hauling 18 miles worth of gravel in at even $500 a load, that's where your budget all went.
Oh, no, an 18 mile, no, an 18 miles job is gonna be cheaper than that.
1,800 loads.
On 18 miles, it's gonna be $150 a load.
No, he's
No.
No,
talking,
he's meaning 18 miles of road
Of
that you
road.
traveled.
Oh.
Talking about the
not
central
long
loop
distance.
out there.
Oh.
If you do
So like
100
central-
loads a mile, that's 1,800 loads.
So like central loop cost is that sounds about right. $340 a load. All in.
Okay, times 1,800.
1,800 loads.
Yep.
$612,000. I don't see
100 loads a mile, right?
that. No. We were doing
60.
it wasn't 60, 75 or 80.
Well, the numbers that he reported to us that day figured out to 100 loads a mile. So full, regular 25-ton loads. Sorry, not pup loads.
While you're doing the pups, they save the county some money.
actually lowered his bid down.
Trucking is that's an input right there. It's killing us.
That's the most expensive part.
So, outside of doing a large project, what's it worth to the county to have a CDL driver that can drive the equipment that's sitting there? I mean, there's 3 gravel trailers sitting there, at least 2 that are operational? 1?
No, there's 2. Isn't there 2 gravel trailers?
There was 3, but 1 was,
One's not operational. There's two operational ones.
We don't have a truck now either.
Oh, yeah, truck, but it
Or driver.
ain't legal to drive. Yeah, I mean, if we got the trucks to do it,
Well, that's what I'm saying, though, like on a small project, you know, if you had two CDL drivers that could drive trucks and just haul gravel all day, which, whatever.
The breakdowns, you can't keep them running. You can't.
Between the
Not-
operator
not on the
breakdowns,
county-wise.
fuel,
You could literally go buy a brand new semi and trailer and haul that whole pile in and still not be money ahead.
I put Dave, Dave helped too. Between Dave and Bill, we've kind of came up with an idea, and we're still working on it. Well, hi Joel, you're back already.
You cut out the GPS meeting, thank you.
If we get these roads fixed, I mean, we're in 30 years behind. We're slowly getting ahead, but we get these roads in shape where they can blow snow off, shed water. Yeah, the county might be turned back a surplus. But right now, our roads are not in the best shape, and it's going to take a lot of money to fix them. But with our plan that we've kind of worked on, within 5 years, we might not need to opt out. I mean, it might be nice to have it, but if we can get these roads in maintainable shape where it don't take very much to do, we'll be money ahead.
I still think your primary roads should be a higher priority, like the
I'm
project
talking
road
about primary roads.
and Heisel and
Yeah.
those two mainly.
We got
There's 5 years right there. If you did your two primary roads with Heisel and the project road, there is a 5-year opt-out right there.
I'll give you the roads that we're talking about.
Yeah, I'd like to see Heisel improved, just for those folks that live out that way, cause that was, holy cow,
Actually, Heisel was in our plan for next year.
for the first 5 miles.
It is or isn't, look?
Is.
It's okay.
I mean, this is what we've been working on, but Heisel, County Line Road, Slattery Road, Burns Road, Christensen Road, Loudon Road, Heath Farley Kirk Road, Powell Rouse Road, 289th Street. I think it's that road from, I think Logan Rizzi lives there, but it's from there
It is.
to the Allen Road. Diving Road, Beer Can Alley, 8 miles of beer can, and then the Houck Road.
Please don't gravel 8 miles of beer can. I'm begging you.
No, I mean, there's options. But
Yeah,
it's just-
I know.
These are the kind of roads that we've kind of thought about that and the major work on it. Yeah, Taylor Road.
East and west. You don't even have to go that far, you know, if you go east of Tut Hill 3 miles, there's only 3 people that live beyond that, and it will get that travel really
Right.
good. From Tut Hill to Slattery's, that needs,
That road from the highway to Slattery's down to Cradaville's, I think is a major one that needs to be done. It's Heisel,
Miller Hills.
Miller Hills, that's another one that I thought I had on here, but I didn't.
You better
That's
raise
why-
your opt-out dollars then. You better start asking for $1 million instead of 300,000.
You can't, you're only capped at so much. Right, Jeff?
I don't think so.
I don't know. That's not, on how much you can opt out for?
Yeah.
I don't know that.
Yes, there's a limit, 1.2 mill levy, I think.
So, I mean, I got a plan here. I want to have a public hearing or a public meeting. And it could be at 6 o'clock at night. I have no problem with that. If anybody else has problems, everybody has a chance to come in. We'll be in the courtroom. We'll have a map. I think we got an updated map right here that Jeff got for us. And sit down. And anybody is welcome. The public's welcome. We'll go over these roads that we're thinking about. And then if we're missing some, throw it on the map. We've got to do something about these roads, and it's going to take money to do it.
We'll beat this to death.
I think so. Anybody else got anything?
Yes,
No.
it's quick, and I was gonna bring it up in before, or old and new business, but it was a little, NACO conference in Philadelphia in July that I would like to go to. My plane ticket's already paid for the trip, but I didn't get to go to DC for the legislative conference. But this is the, NACO's big conference. I think it's the 12th through the 19th in July. It'd be kind of like the one I went to Florida last year for.
12th to the 15th.
12th to the 19th, I think.
You're asking our busing,
Yes. Because it's over the $500 limit or whatever we set that we had to ask tuition to do.
what does the kids cost?
Well, my plane ticket's already paid for, because since I didn't go to Washington, those credits will run over, and I'm gonna say maybe $1,700. And they've opened up to be able to register for it, but I didn't wanna do it without talking to you guys. Because registration is usually about $500 to pay for all the conference stuff.
You didn't put on the agenda, did you?
No, because I was just gonna do it new and old business since I was supposed to go to Washington.
Oh,
And last year I went to both of them, but I didn't go to Washington this year because the timing did not work. So my plane tickets are already there, and I have a year to use those credits.
so just
Or I,
transfer,
or
just,
I
tran-
lose.
just transfer your Washington DC deal to the NACO deal.
That's kind of what I was, basically what I'm doing since I didn't go on that trip.
Anybody else have a problem with that? Jay?
Is she gonna bring back her steak sandwich?
She better.
A whole suitcase full of them.
Go for it.
Okay, so that's all I just wanted to get your blessing before I do it.
That's just more of an update for you guys.
You guys just wanna table the cash transfers until next time, and have all of the.
Yeah.
Budget and stuff.
He just wants it done sometime.
Yeah.
So that our cash fund balance is not in the negative. But I know we got a grant money for the 24/7 program, and there's money from 911, and we mostly got some money on your emergency management. I just didn't have time to find the
We'll
report.
postpone the meeting on it. We'll postpone the executive session for contractual, 1-25-2, parentheses 4, for an hour. We'll put that on next meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
We're on new and old, just, did you wanna explain anything on this, JC, or
No, it's just something, I haven't done it for a while just with busyness, but I try to do this quarterly report for you guys for my office.
Okay.
So that's what it is, it's just a quarterly one, it kind of shows what last year's was. So if you have questions on it,
I don't, is there anything in particular we should be,
No.
do you have, just kind of just report on?
I think, for yourself and Bob, since you're fairly new on the board, like when I have that Vital Check phone money, there's only a few counties, for registered deeds that will take calls for out-of-state customers, that need their birth certificate, death certificate, marriage certificate, whatever, from South Dakota. I think there's only 6 of us. For each phone call I take, it's an extra $5 I bring into the county.
So you brought that much money, you brought the $4,590 into the
No,
account?
that's just the rate, that's all, that's including the $5, but there's one right before that, the phone money. So just this quarter, I brought in an extra $260 for the county. Last year, total was $760, so
Okay.
just extra that we were getting prior to me taking office, so.
Gotcha, okay. All right, well, thanks for the report.
You're welcome.
All right, that's all I have, yeah.
Okay, so next week, so maybe go with the last week.
That works for you guys.
You guys are probably doing a public hearing, not public hearing, but a public meeting,
On the opt-out?
like the week of the 21st sometime?
April 21st,
Mhm.
you're gonna have all your information together?
Good. That's Bob's job.
Or do you wanna put it in the middle of May?
Everybody's busy in the middle, man. I'm trying to catch everybody before they get, I know. Let's just shoot for the 23rd of April. You guys okay with that?
What time?
6 o'clock
Are you up that early?
at night? Yeah, public meeting, 6 o'clock, April 23rd, over opt-out. Would you put that in the booster for next week? For 2 weeks?
make sure that the courtroom is open.
Yes. Sarah, is that okay?
I have an appointment in Rapid at 1 PM.
Tough.
Well, I won't be rescheduling the appointment. So,
You'll be back by 6.
I will try to be back by 6.
Or we can do the 22nd.
I'd say if we could move it, what day would work for you?
22nd would work.
Can we do 22nd?
It's a Tuesday. Six PM.
Correct. Good with that? You good with that?
Unless you only have one, to be on that agenda.
Correct. So, Mary, you'll be there? Okay. Dave, your motion still carry?
Yep.
Okay, Dave's motion still carries for adjourning the meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Jay seconds it.
I thought we needed executive session for personnel.
We postpone that to next meeting. I don't think we went another hour.
I mean, I'm here till 4:30.
Yeah, thanks.
I got Cal to feed yet. Alright, Jay seconds, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Meeting adjourned at